Hey everyone, it's Jackson Fisk here with Goal Zero. We are the simple way to manage safety. We offer turnkey compliance and remote management for all your safety needs. Welcome to Zero Hour, an interview format broadcast where we'll talk all aspects of business with business professionals of many industries and non-for-profits, all in the hopes to share their stories and help educate and inform whoever needs it. So today's guest is Dennis Michael of Wake Creative. Dennis started his career as an in-house graphic designer in 2002. His love of branding began when he was in charge of rebranding North American powertrain components and branding their sister company, North America Diesel Performance, into a global powerhouse. He then took his talent to B&B Electronics, where he reconstructed their brand and their branding for all their divisions. In 2008, Wake Creative was formed, allowing Dennis to continue building with his expertise in branding. Since then, he helped countless businesses build purpose-driven brands. So let's get to it. Whoop, technical difficulties already. Hey, Dennis, how's it going, man?
How's it going, Jackson?
Not too bad. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk branding, that part of business that I know we think is the funnest part, right? When you have a business idea, you're like, first thing I want to do is design this sweet logo and this card. And then, you forget about the rest of your business stuff. But I remember the first time I'm like, I'm going to make these designs. I'm going to make this name. But I really didn't put any thought into it besides this is cool, right? Or right. I like this. So let's kind of dig into that process and, what you do. So let's start off by what was your journey into branding and design?
Well, I started in 2002, like you said, and started my business, Wake Creative, in 2010. When I was an in-house designer, I learned a ton from the people that I worked for. It was fantastic. It was really cool to see branding from the inside out. And when you build a brand, you look at it, say like I was a contractor for them and I was building this brand, you would see everything from the outside, but you wouldn't see the inner workings, how it affected the employees, how it affected management, how it affected the leadership. And working for these guys, I got to see grow from the inside out. And it was the most amazing experience because I got to see the employees' reactions. I got to see the customers' reactions when they first saw it and when they were interacting through that customer service experience. And fantastic. And it was something it's totally priceless. And I think it's helped me become better at what I do, having that experience. So then 2010, I decided I needed to get out and actually start doing this with more business owners instead of just working for one individual. And the rest is history. So, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
So when you started design, when we talked, a couple of years ago, didn't you say you wanted to get into car design? Wasn't that kind of where?
Yeah. When I was in high school,
okay.
All through my life, I've been an artist. I loved drawing and stuff, and cars have always been that big thing for me. And when I got into high school, I really wanted to be a car designer and get into transportation design, but it just economically, it was not going to work. It was way too expensive because the only schools in North America were based out of Chicago and Pasadena, California. And as an international student, I think it was going to cost me $250,000 to go down there. So I was like, nah, that ain't happening.
Yeah, that's one of those life choices. You go, okay,
it's not going to work.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so design has always been an aspect of your life, and so now you've pivoted into something that you find that you might be able to help more people with.
Right.
Awesome. All right. So I got all like the design and logo stuff behind me. Obviously it's all superhero stuff, but that's my jam. I wanted to draw for comic books when I was a kid. Then I just realized I couldn't draw. So
you'd be surprised, man. It doesn't take long for somebody to learn how to draw. I've seen people in a matter of months become really exceptional illustrators.
Yeah.
In a matter of months. It's not that hard.
Well, I think it's like anything, right? If you put the effort into it and you practice.
Absolutely.
Like 10,000 hours of anything and you'll be an expert at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Awesome. So when you start talking about a brand, what does a brand include, right? Like we think of this picture and it's just a picture that we want and it looks cool, but there's more to it than that, right?
Yeah. Like people often associate branding with simply your visuals, your logo, your business card, but it's deeper than that. Like I think it was Bezos had a quote that said it's what do people say about you when you're not in the room? And typically branding is everything that encompasses your company. So your customer service experience, like, what's your culture like inside your company? What are your reviews? What do you look like? What do you sound like? What do you smell like? What do you taste like everything. You look at it from an omnisensory standpoint and look at every single tentacle that is your touch point within your company is your brand. So you can't look at it as one dimensional. It's very multifaceted and it can include as much as you want. And the more that you include, the more powerful a brand becomes, and the more receptive people are and more memorable you become when you take that approach as opposed to just doing it all one dimensionally.
Yeah. So when we look at some of the major brands out there, like IBM, right? If you look at from back in the day, like IBM has their own color blue, do they not?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Yeah. So like
there's a beautifully designed logo by a famous guy, Paul Rand, who is one of my all-time idols when it comes to logo designers. Yeah. Fantastic brand.
Yeah. So like the thought process that goes into these, right? When you look at this, or Amazon or Google, or there's more to it of, hey, we just want this imagery. You want to think of when I think of Google, I can picture it in my head, right? I imagine their search bar pop up. Same with Amazon. Like it's just that something that doesn't matter where you go, when you see it, who that company is, right?
Yeah. And it's organic. So you're always working on it, and it will change. So as your brand grows, you will find that your demographics may change over time. So you have to make adjustments to connect with that next consumer that's coming to you. So you'll take even a Nike, right? Like they started off making shoes, and now they've totally changed into this brand with superior messaging and just awesome words and a culture that is around making everybody an athlete. Now, if you had gone back in the 70s when they first started, nobody would have thought that. They would have been like, well, no, we're just a shoe company. That's it.
Yeah.
We just make shoes with a check mark on it. Look at it now. Same thing with IBM. I mean, they started off, building computers. Now you see their stance, and they were getting initial recognition software, and now they've totally kiboshed that because of what's been happening with the systemic racism. And they aren't even allowing any police forces to have access to this for the next year.
Wow.
Brands are always changing, and if you remain stagnant, you will die. It's plain truth.
Yeah, and you said something. It represents you when you're not in the room, right? So
it does.
Look in the media right now. What happened? Was it the founder of CrossFit?
Oh,
right. One bad comment, and now you can tarnish your whole brand, right? And say what you will about it. The comment, that's not the point. It's look how fast, they lost all their endorsement from Reebok in a matter of minutes. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and you have to be careful nowadays.
Yep. So
things
I think that
change quickly.
I think that's a consideration, and it's one of those things that even me as a business owner, I have to remind myself all the time that, my brand, sure, I have this logo, I have this company, I have all this stuff, but I also represent my brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what I'm doing or whomever I'm interacting with, they are going to associate me with my company, even if I'm not, if I have other people working for me, I can wreck that whole aspect for them as well. Right. Yeah. So like, you're always associated with it. And it's just one of those, I think it's one of those things you don't really think of until, like, you look at these high profile companies and places.
Right. It's a trickle down effect. It is. And it starts with the leadership in any brand. If a Jeff Bezos was, doing some shady stuff, I mean, that would damage his brand in a matter of minutes. I mean, it's not like what it was 20 years ago. Social media has changed the game for brands completely, and it can be a positive and a negative. So you have to be careful what you do, but not to the point where you're fearful. Yeah. I believe in like leading with empathy, being authentic, being intentional, and doing and being purposeful. And like your last call, that you had what's his name, Justin, on, and he was mentioning about empathetic leaders, and I love that because it totally resonated with me. It's like empathetic leaders equals empathetic brands. So it's a trickle down effect. It really does, and it starts with leadership. And the gentleman from CrossFit, I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, he's got a long road ahead of him now to catch back all of that momentum that he lost just from those simple words like you. Yeah.
Well, and I remember even like Reebok changing they adapted their brand into CrossFit. Like, it used to be, I remember it used to being the sponsor of the CFL, right? And so there used to be a lot of sports aspects, and eventually it just became a CrossFit brand, right? Yeah. And that was like, they were the main sponsor, and that's when the CrossFit Games came out, and then everyone like jumped on this bandwagon of what it was, and then like that, it's gone.
Absolutely. I mean, Reebok will be fine. Reebok will be fine. I'm sure they'll probably have a lot more people aligning with their brand now that they've like backed away from CrossFit. So we'll see what happens. I mean, time will tell. And I think after this whole pandemic thing, and I even said this even before it started, like when we started getting rumblings of it, I said, you'll see winners and losers to this whole thing. You'll see the true colors of brands through this whole thing. And the ones that have a positive true colors, I mean, they're gonna kill it come next year. And the ones that didn't, I mean, they're already suffering. Like you see it. Like CrossFit's a great example of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was funny. It was just so right out there, right? Like, then you see it, you're like, oh man.
I had to shake my head as soon as I was like, oh no, you didn't. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope, that I can be cognizant enough of the things I do. And I know stuff happens. Like, even when you think, I came from oil and gas, so everyone thought we had the best sense of humor. We're the military, right? And then you go, no, it's not. It's just what you're used to. You have to adapt. You have to evolve. Yeah. So what do you think some of the biggest mistakes companies make when developing their brand?
The biggest mistake is trying to be like everybody else.
Fair enough.
Drives me absolutely crazy when you see someone doing an awesome job at branding, and then everybody else sees how awesome they're doing it and the momentum they're creating, the revenue they're generating, and all the popularity. Then they're like, well, I'm just going to do exactly what he's doing. No, stop. Be yourself. Quit trying to be other people and be yourself. Lead with your purpose. Your purpose will be your starting point. Once you know why you exist, then you can figure out what you do and how you do it better than everyone else. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just be yourself and be authentic and be so true to who you are. That is the biggest mistake I see. And that was the whole reason why I wrote a manifesto about building your own sandbox, is using it as a metaphor. It's like, quit playing everybody else's sandbox, go build your own. Yeah. And you will see people coming into your sandbox, but what you need to do then is go build another one. And by that time, everybody else is going to be too lazy. They're just going to stay in that sandbox that you already built. By the time they look at you and see you light years ahead or miles away with the new sandbox, like, this is too much work. I can't do it. So yeah, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just worry about yourself. That's the biggest mistake.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that kind of is going to tie into some of the challenges faced with the industry.
Yeah.
When I think of mistakes, and I kind of ties back to our last kind of comments there, is remember that this does represent you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think you really, you got to start with your purpose of like, okay, why are you in business? What does your company do? How do you help your clients? But you got to consider your clientele too when you're building your brand, right? Because it's going to either attract or push away, what you're trying to do. And depending on your industry, some industries don't care, right? They're, if we look at, some hard trades groups, they might have a few people at work. They have a job and they're happy with that. And that's great. All the power to them, but they're not going to think of that, like, multi-provincial, multinational, kind of mindset. So I guess you really got to look at what your goals are too. Right now, again, you said you can always adapt your brand. It should always be changing and evolving, but it's something I think maybe to consider when you're actually starting to make a brand, right? What's your clientele? What are you going to be looking for? And what's your end goal?
Right. And I will put this sort of caveat on this, is branding is not for everyone. It's not. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a lot of people that simply just want to make money and have a quick exit and they're done. So branding does not matter to them. What branding matters to those that are trying to build something special and they have a story they want to tell everybody else. Like you mentioned, in your certain industries, they just don't care about branding. Yes, there will. But I will tell you this, that people are going to start aligning, and it's happening already. They're going to start aligning with brands that have a brilliant story, tell it effectively, and actually lead by purpose. Those customers that you're trying to attract, they will start being attracted to you. It's happening. You're seeing a lot of people now that are already aligning with brands that have a higher purpose, and then the ones that don't matter, they're throwing them off to the side. Like CrossFit's a prime example of that. A company like Patagonia, like, I absolutely adore Patagonia and what they're doing, and they keep evolving all the time. And they're doing some amazing things, not only for the outside world, but also within the company that's building a superior culture from everybody else. And even what Bezos is doing, like the stuff that he's posting on the internet about all these racist people that are sending him emails, and how he is like battling that and then putting that out to the public and showing what's going on behind the closed doors. I mean, as a billionaire, he doesn't have to do any of that, but he understands the power of his brand. He understands what he's trying to build, and he's giving back. So you're going to see a lot more people aligning with that. So yes, you got people that don't care about branding, fine, go right ahead. You're fine with where you're at. But the people that actually want to build something amazing, and it can be in your local area, it doesn't have to be a global powerhouse. You can be dominant within your city or community. Those are the things that people are going to find powerful, and they're going to really start being attracted to that and start looking deeply at who they're aligning with. I mean, this whole pandemic, everybody was under isolation, so they've had a lot of time to think and a lot of time to adjust their lives and to think about what really matters to them. And social media has really kind of, been that information overload of just stuff. And now people are really examining and doing an audit and edit of every part of their lives, and a lot of that is, who do I buy from? Who do I want to champion? What really matters to me? So that's my thought.
I like it. So what are some of the challenges faced in the industry of branding and design? Like to you, let's, because I can think some off the top of my head, right? Mm-hmm. Again, we were speaking of this earlier. Ever since I put, I advertised this episode, my analytics are popping back going, hey, 4-week master design course for $30, click here. Or, you're getting all this stuff, or there's, you have your Fiverr, or you have, these platforms where people, it's like, hey, I'm just going to do this cheap. Right. Yep. Now, with thoughts, or I guess the challenges you face with this.
Mm-hmm. Well, like the do-it-yourself industry is always a challenge because everyone thinks they can do it themselves, and sometimes you can. It all depends on what stage your business is at. I mean, not everyone can afford to do a proper brand. Not everyone can afford to spend thousands of dollars to get a great logo design. But you got to start somewhere. So the biggest challenges is just dealing with people that are saying, well, I can get this done cheaper through Fiverr, or, I can do this myself, or I have a cousin who's also a graphic designer who can do this for me. It's like, great. What you need to be cognizant of is you're putting bias into the solution if you're doing it yourself. And when you hire somebody outside of your organization that has no affiliation with who you are, they can give you a way better viewpoint of where your brand fits and what you're trying to do from an unbiased perspective. And that is where you're going to see the most effective solutions come to light, is when you can have somebody who sees it from the outside looking in. When they can see it from the outside looking in, way better solutions than you doing it yourself, because you're going to get so emotionally involved with it. And I've seen this with past clients who, worked with me because, they had a previous logo and they did it themselves and they're really struggling to try and get rid of it and do something new. Yes, I agree. It's hard. It's emotional because you built this company, which is like your child, and you've seen it grow up. And now you're telling it to, okay, we're going to give you a complete facelift. We're going to change the game completely. But when you do that, you will see a lot more effective results, because now you don't have that bias. You have that outside source that's looking at your brand from a objective point of view, and is going to really see the whole landscape, whereas you're way too involved in it. That's one of the biggest challenges. Biggest challenge. And then just like even budgeting. A lot of people, they can't understand the cost associated with it, and that's just where people like me have to explain to them what the return on investment is. But it's about asking the hard questions and getting them to come up with, what do they feel is the return on investment on it. So
yeah. Well, and that's, especially when you're starting out. I did it. Like, I got a $5 logo.
Right. And you have to.
Yeah. It was, I needed something at the time, and it fit the need, just to see if we can even prove an idea. Right.
Yep.
Exactly. But then there is that time when you personally go, okay, I need to evolve this, and, let's step away from that, and, let's go through this process. And going through that process was something that I never thought I would experience, because again, I never put that much thought into it, besides the, hey, this looks cool, or let's try this, or, that kind of mentality. But when you actually try to think of a story behind it, or what you're trying to create from your brand, I really enjoyed that process. And I found it very surprising of the outcome, because I was like, hey, this is like whatever, right? Like when I went into it very close-minded and kind of abrasive to it, because at that point I just thought of money, right? You think of that dollar value. But after going through that actual process, I came out happier than I thought I ever would have. So
nice.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Right. But, I look at, some of those challenges too. I remember talking to an individual, and they got a logo off Fiverr, right? And they built their brand around it. And then they told me they went to a trade show, that summer, and then they found another person with the exact same logo.
Oh,
they just changed the colors and a different name, right?
That
and you're
happens way too often.
You
get what you pay for.
Well, and that's it. You have all these templates, right? Like it is, and it is. It's exactly, you get what you pay for. And if you want something unique and you want to start going that route, then you're probably going to have to talk to a professional to help you, right?
Yeah, you will. Hands down, you just decide if it's worth it or not to you.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little plug here for people who don't know where to start, right? They're trying to approach a graphic designer. They have no idea where to start. You made a little book and a tool for them, right?
Yes.
So the step-by-step, no nonsense approach to getting the logo design you deserve, right?
Yep.
Going through this, it's laid out, it makes sense, and it answers those questions that you go, okay, I didn't know this, or this is something I should consider. So where can people find that?
How to hire a logo designer.ca.
Okay.
Long URL, but worth it.
Yeah.
So you can go, go there, or you can go to wakecreative.ca and the resources, you can find it. And I think even I have it on Amazon as well. But if you want your own free digital copy, just go to hirealogodesigner.ca and you'll be able to find it. Yeah.
Awesome. It's a great resource.
Thank you.
I show it to most people that come into my office, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about logo design, or, their smaller company looking for design and graphics and stuff like that. Right. And that's one of those things I said, look, you got to do your due diligence, figure out what you want, what you need to spend money on, and start there.
I agree. Like I had to do some math because I'll announce this here first. On Monday is my company's 10-year anniversary. Awesome. So I had to look and find out, well, how many logo designs have I done in the last 10 years? And I counted, it's about over 60 logos. And then since I started my career in 2002, getting close to 100 logos. So I wrote that book because out of probably 60 to 70% of the people that I worked with, they all had a horror story with a previous graphic designer trying to get a logo design or trying to get any sort of design services done, and it went horribly wrong. And I had lots of people come to me that just said, hey, listen, I've got this logo. I need a color change on it. And I say, well, do you got the vector file? And they're like, what's a vector file? Yeah. I'm like, well, your designer should have given you a vector file. Well, they never gave it to me. I said, okay, well, here's what you say. Go get it. And then they email me back and say, yeah, they don't have one. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. How?
Really?
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, this has got to stop. There's just so much madness out there. And I wrote the book, and the one of the first people that actually got the book was this woman in Australia. And she contacted me. We had a FaceTime talk, and she said to me, like, I wish I had known this 2 months ago. And I'm like, well, it's here now. It'll help you moving forward. And I was so sick and tired of hearing that same thing. I wish I knew this. I wish I knew this. Well, here's a free resource. Educate yourself, then go and decide how you want to move forward. It's going to save you a crap ton of money and so much time. Just do it. And that's the whole reason why I wrote that book. Because I was tired of listening to the horror stories.
I think that goes into every aspect of business. I think going through it's like there's so many things I wish I knew before starting. The worst is, though, I can say that I probably knew lots of them. I just didn't act on lots of stuff, right? You're like, no, that won't happen. No, or no, it won't be
You're
that hard.
invincible when you first start, right?
Yeah,
Everything's gonna be okay. I'm gonna make millions.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Instantaneous millions. It'll be great.
Exactly.
So, and that's great because, this book and this, what you're explaining in it gives the person the knowledge to go find someone that they like, right? So,
Absolutely.
because there's a lot of amazing people in every industry, right?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of bad people in every industry. And it's trying to educate people enough so we don't have that trial and error approach, right? If you can try to help people, that's great. So anyone listening and looking, get a free resource. You can look at it yourself. You can educate yourself, and then you can make an informed decision.
Yes, I totally agree. It's heartbreaking when you have people who are trying to build an amazing business and they get screwed over by, no matter what it is, logo designers, design agencies, accountants, bookkeepers, like just keep going down the list, right? And it's like we're in a very important position in this person's journey, and we need to take that into account and be very aware of what we are doing and be very intentional and come at it from a positive and right way of doing it, as opposed to just stealing their money, saying peace out, move on to the next one. Like I mean, your story, like the way you started the business and everything is fantastic. And you run across so many awesome business owners that are just trying to build something special because they want to do it right. And it pains me when they get screwed over and lose money, lose time, and lose confidence in what they're doing. And just, it's got to stop. It really does. And I think it's going to. It's going to stop soon.
That's the whole goal. That's even like from these talks, right? If we can bring on professionals in all these aspects to try to help educate someone in anything, right? So we don't have to go through the trials that other people went through, and we can learn from them. Man, that's the whole goal, right? And that's everything from the foundation of your business to all these nice things like our logo and our brand and our image. There's so much to learn.
Absolutely. And it's never ending, and you shouldn't stop learning. Absorb it all. There's so many awesome people out there to follow. You can get free mentors through podcasts, for God's sakes. Like, I found so many cool resources from amazing people who were like, on the verge of being billionaires, and they just give away such wicked content. And it's everywhere. You just need to search for it.
Absolutely. Well, give a shout. What are your top podcasts you're listening to right now?
By far the best business podcast I have ever listened to was the MF CEO Project by Andy Frisella. It is now changed into the Real AF. So just search on podcasts for Andy Frisella. His podcast, start episode 1. You want to learn everything about business? This guy is on point. Awesome. The next podcast I would say would be Ed Milet. Another great guy, very inspirational, different approach. Another guy to look at it is, I think his name is Todd Bilyeu, like Bilyeu. Very interesting guy. And then books. I mean, there's so many. I could list off 30 different books right now.
I have my library over here that I'm looking at that I started reading to try to educate myself in business. And you go, man, you start looking at them, you go, look at some of these points I probably forgot in there. I should have listened to.
It's just so much. It's great. I mean, it's fantastic. I love you got to consume information. As a business owner, constantly consume. Personal development is always number one, because what you input equals what comes out. And if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not taking care of your mind, body, and soul, I mean, your business is going to suffer, hands down. I've seen it firsthand. It's the way it works.
I agree. All right, Dennis. Any other little things on maybe we might have forgot about for, trials and errors of logo design, or any parting words you want to leave people with?
Take your time. Don't rush it. Research again, interview a bunch of people, ask them hard questions. Make sure whoever you're working with, you got a contract involved. And when they do have a contract, read the contract.
Yeah.
Make sure you understand it. Because the contracts are there not only to protect the client, but it's also to protect the designer. And you get what you pay for. Be very aware of that. Don't expect to have some sort of really amazing timeless logo for $10. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be, like you said, copied and been regurgitated by 15 other companies across the world. And you think that that's the end all be all. Well, anyways, yeah, just, it's not for everybody. Branding is not for everybody. And you just got to really go in with what is it you want to achieve? What is your long-term goal? And if you can't think that far ahead, okay, maybe just start off small until you understand exactly what you want to build in any new business. Yeah, keep it cheap. Know it's a temporary solution until you're ready to take that next step. Then invest in your brand.
Awesome.
And do it right the first time. Yeah,
I like it. All right, Dennis. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining me today. It was awesome, man. Yeah. Always great talking with you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll shoot this out later so you can have a copy, and we'll get all those resources up in the show notes and all that stuff for you.
Fantastic.
All right, man. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Hey, everyone. If you stopped in, really appreciate it. Like always, if you can like my social media channels, our YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care.